Welcome to Tales by Tyron. Today, let us journey into the life of a giant who had everything except a kind heart. But one small child changed his world forever. Once upon a time, in a quiet village, there stood a magnificent garden. It was full of green grass, colorful flowers, and tall fruit trees. Birds sang in the branches, and children from the village came every day to play there. It was their favorite place in the world. But this garden didn't belong to the children, it belonged to a giant. For many years, the giant had been away, visiting his friend in another land. While he was gone, the children played freely and filled the garden with laughter. One day, the giant came back. He saw the children playing and became furious. "This is my garden," he roared. "How dare they play here?" So he built a tall, cold wall around the garden and put up a sign, "No children allowed." The children were heartbroken. With nowhere to play, they wandered the streets sadly. Their laughter disappeared. Inside the garden, something strange happened. Spring did not return. Flowers refused to bloom. The trees stood bare and silent. Birds flew past without stopping. Snow covered the ground. Cold winds howled. While the rest of the world enjoyed sunshine and warmth, the giant's garden stayed frozen in a never-ending winter. The giant waited and waited, but the seasons never changed. Then one morning, something amazing happened. The giant woke up to the sound of birds singing, the sound he hadn't heard in years. He rushed to his window. To his surprise, spring had come back. In one corner of the garden, trees bloomed with flowers. Birds chirped and the grass turned green. And right there under the tree were children. The children had found a way through a little hole in the wall. Among them was one tiny child, trying to climb a tree, but he was too little. The tree leaned as if it wanted to help, but the boy still couldn't reach the branch. The giant watched, and something soft stirred in his heart. For the first time, he felt something warm, something gentle. Kindness. He picked up the child carefully and helped him onto the tree. The tree burst into flowers at once. The boy smiled and the giant smiled back. A real smile from deep inside. The giant understood everything. "Why was I so selfish?" he whispered. He walked to the wall and with his great hands he tore it down. From that day on, the garden belonged to the children as much as to the giant. Spring returned. Every year the trees blossomed, the flowers danced in the wind, and the sound of laughter filled the air. The giant grew old, his hair turned white, and his steps became slow. But every day he sat under a tree smiling as children played around him. But the little boy he once helped never came back. He asked the other children, "Where is my little friend?" But no one knew. Then one winter morning, the giant saw a vision. Under the same tree stood the little boy, his eyes shining, his hands glowing with light. The boy smiled and said, "You let me play in your garden when others wouldn't. Now I have come to take you to my garden, the one that never ends." With peace in his heart, the giant closed his eyes and was never seen again. But the children knew somewhere beyond the skies, the selfish giant had found his forever spring. And that, dear my listeners, is the story of the selfish giant who learned that sharing brings joy and that a kind heart blooms like a garden in spring. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Tales by Tyrell for more heartwarming tales. Until next time, keep spreading kindness.